All right, so I reached out to you guys on Twitter and asked you guys what was the most uncomfortable pair of sneakers that you guys have worn, and I got a lot of replies. In fact, I got over 100 replies, so I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys the results from what your answers were in this video. What is going on, guys? Hes here, collectivekicks.com. If you guys would like to shop this week's top sneaker deals that I curate for you guys, go over to my website or in the description of the video, Collective Kicks. And if you don't follow me on Instagram or Twitter, feel free to give me a follow. I usually post all of my deals on those social media sites first. So by definition, uncomfortable is causing or feeling slight pain or physical discomfort, causing or feeling unease or awkwardness. So basically, I wanted to do this video on top 5 most uncomfortable sneakers. However, I realize that all of our feet are different. Some people weigh more or less than others, and what one person deems as comfortable, the other one might think is uncomfortable. So obviously there's a lot of variance here, but I wanted to give you guys a compilation of your guys' thoughts from Twitter, at least, of what uncomfortable shoes that they have tried on, as well as give you some feedback of 5 shoes that I found uncomfortable through the last couple years. So with over 140 replies on Twitter, I basically had to go through every single answer and then add them to a spreadsheet and compile all of those answers into lists and really break them down one by one. So if you guys do like this video, please drop a like on it. It is much appreciated, since it definitely took some time crunching the numbers, but it was honestly really fun to be able to do and see what the answers were, because there was obviously a couple themes going on. And so from all of the answers that you guys provided, I was able to break them down into a couple different categories, so they have a little bit more meaningful impact. So first, I wanted to mention the totals by each individual sneaker that you guys tweeted and said was uncomfortable. Then I'm going to separate it by totals in the category, whatever they may be. There's 5 of them that definitely stuck out. But before we get into those ones, there's a couple that came up that were an honorable mention, so let's go ahead and jump in. Noteworthy runner-ups were the Nike Shox line in general. There was about 4 or 5 different versions of Nike Shox that people mentioned. The Nike SB Dunk stained glass from Concepts, which actually was my #1 most uncomfortable pair of sneakers from my first video I did years ago, which is hilarious that there was at least 4 or 5 people that mentioned those also. Yeezy 350s and 500s, interestingly enough, that those ones made the list. Some people didn't find them comfortable. It is what it is. Like I said, we all have different feet, and sometimes they might be uncomfortable because we buy the wrong size of the sneakers that we are buying. As we know, a 9 in Adidas isn't necessarily a 9 in Nike. It just depends on the models, honestly, for both brands. Another one that was interesting to hear over and over again was the Fear of God Mocs from Nike. I don't know why, but at least 3 or 4 people mentioned that one specific shoe. I didn't know it was so uncomfortable, but it's funny that many people just really didn't like it. And the last honorable mention was the Sean Witherspoon 97s. Interesting that those were one that people definitely mentioned over and over again were really uncomfortable. All right, so next I want to break down the most uncomfortable sneakers by the individual shoe, and here's the ranking of the top 5 that you guys suggested. The number 5 spot goes to the Nike Vapormax. There was 8 people that said Nike Vapormax was terribly uncomfortable, and that was an interesting one. I didn't think that many people would find it uncomfortable, but it is a really unique shoe. I've done a lot of videos. In fact, one of my Vapormax videos has over 1 million views on it, which is insane. I mean, maybe I should just do more Vapormax videos. I don't know. But they are very unique on feet. And a lot of people don't find them comfortable. It definitely takes some getting used to. It's something that I've worn a lot, and it's definitely, again, something that is not normal on your feet. The number 4 spot of what you guys found uncomfortable is Vans in general. Whether it be the old schools, the skate highs, the classics, the slip-ons, they're all basically the same rubber outsole, midsole, and a lot of people said they're unbelievably uncomfortable. So I get that for sure, because I personally just don't think Vans are very comfortable. On average, they're not really made to be comfortable, though. They have a lot of ground feel, at least. And they're kind of an older technology in the way that they created those shoes. In fact, I would even say that there's no technology because it's just rubber. But Vans definitely was high on the list. 10 people said Vans out of 140 or so. So the number 3 spot you guys said was the most uncomfortable pair of sneakers you ever tried on were the Nike Foamposites. Now, I'm an OG fan of Nike Foamposites. Here's a pair from '97 in the royal blue colorway, just the original one. And I absolutely love this shoe, but a lot of people said that they're very, very uncomfortable. They kind of mold to your foot over time as you wear them. At least that was what the concept was. It has carbon fiber on them. They have clear soles. They're just a really beautiful shoe, in my opinion. Just very, very futuristic looking, even now in 2020. And these were introduced in 1997. However, the average person is going to say that they're really, really uncomfortable. And I get it. They are really, really interesting on feet. There's nothing quite like it. They're quite heavy, and they're very, very snug on your foot. And if you get the wrong size, you'll definitely know. A lot of people get foams half size up, But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, Foamposites are definitely one of those shoes that I've grown to love, but a lot of people, again, find it really uncomfortable. So they had 11 votes for the Nike Foamposite, just a little bit more than the Vans. So the number 2 spot for the most uncomfortable shoes went to the Chuck Taylor All-Stars. Kind of not surprising because these are a little bit more uncomfortable than Vans, to be honest. They have that rubber toe guard, which is a little bit odd. It's a rubber outsole just like the Vans are, and a canvas upper, pretty similar to Vans as well. But it's a tried and true shoe that a lot of people have grown to love. However, it doesn't mean it's a comfortable shoe. They're heavy because there's just rubber on the outsole. Now, they do have like Lunarlon and newer versions that have cushioning on the bottoms, but these are the best sellers, man. They're always on shelves. You can buy them pretty much anywhere. And I've seen kids to grandparents wearing Chucks, man. It's just one of those iconic pairs of sneakers, but they are old school, and old school means that they're really not very comfortable. So not surprising to see 17 votes out of 140 saying Chuck Taylors are the ones that are the most uncomfortable. They're definitely really narrow on feet also, and just a really interesting feel, especially in a day of Adidas Boost and all these other sneaker cushioning technologies. These are hard as a rock on your feet. Some people like that sensation on feet, but a lot of people consider it uncomfortable. So number 2 spot. And the number 1 spot with an overwhelming 19 votes is the Air Jordan 1. I was actually surprised to see that. I thought a lot of people found these comfortable, but maybe because of all the resurgence of the Air Jordan 1s in the last 2 or 3 years, like this is the shoe that everybody says is the most uncomfortable for them. It has the same feeling as a lot of the other sneakers that I already mentioned, a hard rubber midsole and outsole, and then it's just leather on the upper, so it's not like anything really great for structure. And although it is a Nike Air shoe, the Nike Air is hard as a rock and you can't really feel the air anyway. The Zoom version you can, but these are definitely rough on your feet. But you know how popular the Air Jordan 1 has been, so it's not like they're not selling, it's just overall people don't think that they're very comfortable, which I get. 19 votes, the most by far out of any individual sneaker mentioned by you guys. So moving on to the total categories, basically I wanted to bunch them up because some mention LeBron shoes and some mention Kyrie's and some mentioned like certain Adidas shoes, shell toes, and Stan Smiths. So I wanted to kind of bundle them up and see what we could come up with the top 5. So this is a totals category. The 5th place with a total of 12 votes is Adidas sneakers in general. That includes Adidas Ultra Boost, Stan Smiths, shell toes, and then some obscure models as well. But they had a total of 12 votes out of 140 plus votes. So that's kind of a lot if you think about it. But it's interesting to see some people say Ultra Boost was uncomfortable. At least 3 people said that, which honestly, again, everybody's feet's different. Number 4 spot goes to Nike basketball sneakers. They had a total vote of 18 different times. Random old retros of Nike basketball sneakers, as old as the Nike Air Pressures, but also as new as like the newer LeBrons or the Kyries. And then a lot of votes for the KDs, the KD 4s specifically, and then the 5s and a couple other KDs. But definitely a lot of Nike basketball sneakers. And if you think about it, they're not made necessarily for comfort. They're made for performance. So sometimes it does make sense if they're not comfortable because that's not necessarily the overall intent. However, in this day and age, you need some cushioning when you're like jumping up and down on the basketball court. So, I mean, I think it can go both ways. Total category number 3, not too big of a surprise. I bunched them together, but Vans and Chuck Taylors. Total votes of 27 between the two. Again, not too surprising because they do kind of feel like bricks on your feet, either one of those brands. The total category number 2 was an interesting one, and the reason why I even wanted to group this together, but that's the Air Max line, and primarily just the Air Max 1, the Air Max 90, the Air Max 95, and the Air Max 97. That totaled 35 votes. That's not including the Vapormax or the Air Max 270s or 720s. This is just the heritage line of the Air Maxes. So that's a lot of votes. 35 votes said that Nike Air Retros are some of the most uncomfortable sneakers that they've tried on their feet. And honestly, I've said that for years as well. Like the Air Max 90 is one of my favorite sneaker models of all time, but it's also one of the most uncomfortable, especially if you wear those over an extended period of time. So I'm siding right there with you guys. I do think that those are really uncomfortable sneaker models. But as we know, we're not necessarily wearing sneakers just for comfort. There's a lot of style points that go into some of these shoes that we're buying anyway. And the number 1 spot with an unbelievable 48 votes out of 140 is Air Jordans in general. I mean, it's not too big of a surprise again, because some of these retros are 30 plus years old. And you think the technology advancements in 30 plus years, now we're putting these old bricks on our feet from 3 generations ago. It's no surprise that they're not very comfortable. It was comfortable maybe 30 years ago, but there's been a lot of evolution since then. But the Air Jordans in general, there was a ton of different voting across the board. Air Jordan 1s and 4s, 3s, 11s. there was a lot. So not surprising to see those 48 votes, but I want you guys to do me a favor and leave a comment in the comment section or a like on this video to let me know you're interested. Would you guys like to see a ranking of the most uncomfortable Jordans of all time? Because I think that it would be really fun to do, at least from the Air Jordan 1 through 14. Like, what is the ranking of the most uncomfortable per your guys' feedback? It's something that I could do some polls on and then crunch the numbers and then bring that video to you guys. If you guys want to see that, drop a comment in the comment section or drop a like on the video. So finishing out the video, 5 sneakers that I wanted to mention that are uncomfortable as well. Obviously, I'm in agreement with the ones that you guys listed, but newer ones that I've tried that I don't really like. Number 5 spot is the Air Max 270 React, or as I like to call them, the chunky clunkies. They're basically really clunky feeling on feet. The React version specifically, the regular version doesn't feel very good. It feels a little bit unnatural, but then you put the React version on and it definitely feels really unsteady, at least on my foot, and a little bit wobbly and just, again, unnatural feeling on feet. The heel toe transition is not very smooth because of the soft firmness of the Air pocket. Then you hit that transition to the React and it's a little softer. I don't know. It wasn't a great experience for me on feet. However, I do still have a couple pairs. It is what it is, but not very comfortable overall. The next one for me personally was the Nike Joyride, the very first one, specifically the Run. Really weird beanbag placement underfoot. It definitely felt like it's sticking up under the ball of my foot, sort of like a soft squishy beanbag underneath. It just was a really odd sensation. Overall, when you wear them through the day though, you just don't really notice it as much, especially when you're walking around. But when you first put those things on, man, it's just a weird sensation. Drop a comment in the comment section if I'm crazy or if you guys agree with me on any of these that I'm mentioning. The next one is the Asics Glide Right. Now I realize that this is strictly a performance running shoe. They have a couple different versions of it, but the Glide Ride is the one that I tried, and as soon as I put them on, they were like really rockety feeling because it's supposed to have like a rocking motion forward, and I've seen some of that in carbon fiber models in the past as well, but there's usually a lot more cushion there. These things just felt like weird little rockers on my feet. I immediately threw them back in the box and returned them. I just couldn't do it. They were just really, really weird on feet. And I know some people are going to be like, well, yeah, it's a running shoe, bro. Like, you're not supposed to wear them. But the reality is I do know that there's people that have bought those for running purposes and still can't get used to that weird sensation on feet. It's just really bizarre. The rocking motion I've had on some shoes and I like, these ones were not it for me. The next one is one that I actually really do like, but Adidas 4D technology overall is just not very comfortable. It's heavy, it's clunky, it looks really cool and futuristic, and I still like to wear them just because I do like that crazy look to them. It's just such a ridiculously open midsole that I love the tech that went into creating it. However, overall not very comfortable. I definitely prefer all of their other technology over this. On feet comfortability wise, boost, bounce, light strike, all good. The 4D looks the best though, but just not the most comfortable for me. And the number 1 spot for the most uncomfortable sneakers for me, if I omit all of the ones that you guys already mentioned, the Jordans, the Air Maxes, the Vans, and the Chuck Taylors, the number 1 for me was the Nike HyperAdapt 1.0. I love the concept behind the shoe. It was the very first self-lacing sneaker to market, which was amazing. Tiffany Beers, I hate even mentioning this shoe as something I dislike because I really, really like Tiffany Beers and Tinker Hatfield for designing these shoes. I think that they did a tremendous job, but I cannot discount the fact that they were unbelievably uncomfortable on feet. And I had a couple different pairs of them. I had a true to size 9.5. I also had a size 10 that went up half a size. I wore them to the employee store one day. I couldn't get past some of the awkwardness on feet of those things. They just jammed my toes in the wrong spot. Like, I know underneath they had to get all of the contraption available so they can actually have them self-laced, but overall, man, those things were brutal on feet, especially when you have a $720 price point on those when those originally released. So because of that, number 1 spot for me. And now they have like the Adapt BBs and the Huarache Adapts. These things are super crazy comfortable comparison to those HyperAdapt 1.0s. But that's the whole thing. Like, it was the very first of its type, and now that they've improved upon it, they definitely have gotten better with newer versions. So worth throwing that out there. But that's the list. Hopefully you found this video somewhat fun. This is really like 3 videos in one. Drop a like on the video, and thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you guys are new to my channel or just haven't subscribed thus far. Hit the notification bell to be notified of when my videos are posted. But have a good one. We'll see you guys hopefully for some more top 5 videos on the channel very soon. Peace, guys.